This is one of the coolest forklifts I've ever seen. Anyways, what's up guys? My name is Luke the Welder, and today we have a mobile job we have to take care of. We're gonna be doing some welding repairs on this absolutely gorgeous Bennington tri-hull pontoon. But the very first thing that we have to do is actually get it into position, because these repairs are gonna be taking place on the underside of this pontoon. Now that it's in position, let's get underneath of it and take a look. Wow, that's a very big crack. A crack that size can actually let in a lot more water than you think. As you can see, it's still got a little bit of a leak. On to the center tune. At first glance, it appears okay, but let's take a closer look. Oh, there it is. When you look closely at this weld, you can notice a really small crack along the side of the weld, otherwise known as the toe of the weld. Looks like it runs the entire length. Let's check out the port side. So they marked off the areas that I need to pay attention to with blue tape. The first thing I noticed is that there's a little bit of water, which means I'm likely looking for another crack. So there is a crack on this side as well. Let's start by cutting the guides out of our way so we can get to the crack underneath. Let's cut here and here. Here and here. Here and here. Once we get those out of the way, we can really see what's underneath. Let's grab our gear and get after it. Let's unravel the ground cable. Oops, didn't mean to do that. Grounded. Now we gotta pull out our welding torch. Let's do an angle grinder. We'll use this really cool extension cord reel that I got from a friend of mine. We'll fire up the generator, get that bad boy going. Now we can fire up the water cooler for the TIG welding machine. Let's get the welder started. And finally, let's get some shielding gas going. So I'm trying to set this machine and I can't see a dang thing because the sun is so bright. Look, see for yourself. You probably can't see it either. All right, now we just have to set our argon flow rate. I have about a half a bottle with me right now, but that's okay, it'll be enough. We're gonna set our argon flow rate to 30 CFM. Now let's find the fuel tank. There it is, located at the back or the aft of the center tune. I can locate the other end of this tank by knocking on the pontoon and listening to the difference in the hollowness. I need to know exactly how far I am away from where the fuel tank is. This is incredibly important because I am welding and I could set this thing up absolutely in an instant and it would be the last video I ever made. And we don't want that because I want to make more videos for you guys. Okay, we're going to start off by using a 6-inch cutoff wheel on an angle grinder. And you will notice that I'm actually always standing off to the side, not in front of or behind the angle grinder. I am a trained professional and I know people are going to be like, oh, why don't you have guards on it? I don't like guards and I never have and I never will. They get in the way and it makes it difficult to see where I'm trying to cut, which poses an extra level of danger in my opinion. But I do this at my own risk and you should absolutely be using a guard. Okay, there's the first one removed, and wow, that crack definitely runs all the way underneath, and this is the reason why I removed these. Now on to the center. All right, on to the port side. All right, I guess that side was a little bit under tension. Startled me a little bit. Man, there's a lot of water around this still. There must be a lot of water inside of it. Now you can definitely see the full extent of the crack and how far it runs. Looks like it runs there to there. So the crack's a little bit smaller on the port side than the starboard side, but we'll get it taken care of. Now I'm going to use a wire wheel on an angle grinder, and we're going to get the oxidation off of all 3 areas that need to be worked on. All right, looks really good. Now, in order to stop the crack from continuing on around the tune, what I can do is use an 1/8 inch drill bit or a 3/16 drill bit and drill right through the end of that crack on each end. All right, good. That'll work. The next thing we need to do is drain each tune. Make sure that there's no more standing water, because as you can see, we've got a leak still underneath the crack, which means there's water inside of this tune. And we need to get that out of there because we can't weld over top of water. And it will also cause me to get electrocuted, and I don't feel like getting electrocuted today, so we need to get that water out of there. All right, that looks really good, and we definitely still have some water coming out of the port side now, and so we got to get these tunes drained. And you can see I've got the 3 holes that we needed, and just so I can get to work, what I can do is actually raise the front end of the boat and let all the water drain to the back, and drill holes in the back of the tunes and let those drain while I'm still working. I can dry off the areas that I need to work, and these tunes can just continue to drain the entire time I'm working. I can always plug weld these at the end, and that's what I plan to do. So we're gonna start knocking this out and getting after it. Now, for those of you wondering why I keep starting and stopping a million times in each weld, that is actually a welding method called bump welding. It's very common with guys that weld anodized aluminum, because that is how you have to weld anodized aluminum. the anodizing actually breaks down and doesn't allow you to weld straight like you might be used to with steel welding or stainless welding. This method can be used with aluminum, and it does not hurt the structural integrity of the weld by starting and stopping. So the reason why I'm using it in this particular case, though, is because the tunes have been submerged in salt water, and over time it develops a layer of oxidation that actually impregnates the aluminum. So really, this is the best way for me to actually melt the contaminants and bring them to the surface of the molten weld puddle, and then I'm actually able to use that method to clean those contaminants out of my weld. To the guys that do steel work, stuff like that, it might be very odd way of welding, and you might think that it will compromise the structural integrity, but it certainly does not. And it is one of the best ways for me to actually weld this. In this particular case, it doesn't look the prettiest. It's not going to be a perfect weld as far as aesthetics, but it is a very structurally sound weld. So when you see the final result, don't judge me. That is the reason why it does not look like absolute perfection, is because the material is not perfectly clean inside and out. I do my best with what I have as far as tools, but I can only do so much out in the field. Now, using the cutoff wheel in the crack gives me a little bit of a groove inside of the crack to fill for good weld penetration, and that's what it looks like right there. So I'm kind of just carving out the crack and then I'm gonna re-weld over it. Give it a couple knocks for no reason. I like to use these plumber torches to get rid of any moisture that might be remaining above the tune or in the crack. Right at the end of filming this segment, I actually ran out of storage space and I could no longer record, so we just have to jump to the final result at the end of this one. Sorry, guys. Anyways, here's the final result of the last tune, and they turned out really good. I had to add an extra couple welds there on the crack on this one just to make sure that there's no leaks at all whatsoever. Here's the center tune. That one looked really good. We welded over the original crack, and I think I added a couple extra welds on top of that one too, just to be safe. And same thing over here. And everything's all good. It looks really good. It will get pressure tested to about 4 PSI, and it'll be good to go. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and I really appreciate it. It was a fun job, and it was a lot of work. Well, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Luke the Welder, out.